Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, and good evening on this Saturday night in the UK. And welcome to another evening of Talking Sip. And want to welcome those who are joining from YouTube primarily, Facebook, and TikTok, and eventually Instagram as well. Uh, well, another Saturday night, ladies and gentlemen, Talking Sip. And I put Talking Sip international because there's so much thing going on in the world that we've got to go international. We can't just focus on one thing, only one area only. And I've got my guest tonight, O'Neill, and also we'll have Herbert as well. And first of all, I always ask the question, what are you drinking? That's the most important thing. What are you drinking? Well, I want to say to you that I'm actually starting off with some coffee, and the coffee is not Blue Mountain, but it is in a coffee cup from Jamaica. You can see the map of Jamaica right there outlined, and you can see it even have Ocherius as a parish. Can you imagine that? Ocherius as a parish. I mean, it says Montego Bay, but most importantly, it doesn't even say center. It says Ocherius, ladies and gentlemen. That's really powerful, as many people call me man from Ochi, So you can tell me what you're drinking as well this evening as well. It's a bit chilly here in the UK, a bit chilly, but nevertheless, still that is okay. Today is what we call the Armistice Day, Remembrance Day, Remembrance Weekend, and if you're in tune with what's happening in the UK, there's been a lot of. Are you a man of God, my brother? Yes, Spurgeon, I'm a man of God. As a matter of fact, we all should be men of God. I'm trying to say women of God. Because we well, it all depends on you. Or so I'm speaking to someone on TikTok. Yeah, we all have to believe in something, and if you don't believe in something, well, that's what you believe in. Nothing, But I'm wearing my, poppy, which is significant Remembrance Day in the UK, and it's very important. And one of the things that I found out with Remembrance Day and Armistice period is that it reflects on men of war, men that went into war, and they laid on their lives, and they laid on their lives in order for others to have freedom, to be able to express themselves freely. And of course, there's been this conflict with the Palestine movement, and I would agree with what a reverend said this morning. I was listening to him. He says it is not a pro-Palestine march; it is a pro-peace march. That's what he said, a pro-peace march, whereby he's looking. So what he did was he went to the Cenotop early this morning, with the laying of the wreath. And then he went over to Hyde Park to join with the pro-Palestine march. But he called it the pro-peace march. And I believe that the hoo-ha whereby it was mentioned that the Home Secretary was against the march. The Prime Minister initially, Rishi Sunak, was against the march. But after he had a chat with the police chief, he was sort of encouraged that it was going to be okay. And based on what I'm hearing now, it seemed like not much did take place except look at skirmish as well. As actually the skirmish came from the counter demonstration unit, which is more the right wings, and as a result of that, it seemed to be peaceful. But to stop the march, I would have said it would be a slap in the face of what those who fought in the World War One for 11/11. 11th of the month and 11th, and therefore we had the 2 minutes, time of remembrance. I do wonder though, at the same time that they should really have some serious time and some serious memory. But I guess the black community has that for the transatlantic slavery movement, where so many people were pushed overboard, so many people died at the same time. There should have been something for that. But I'm sure that that is something which has been done for many reasons. But I believe tonight is very crucial, and it's a hot topic that many people fear to go on, a hot topic that angels fear to thread. And also, I want to also look at America as well, with what's happening with Trump and also the mayor of New York. I want to also touch on Jamaica as well, whereby in Jamaica, you have a situation now whereby the horse racing, they have taken off GCT of horse racing. I was hoping to have gotten um, a, a, a friend to come on who has who trains horses. Capture my ship. I remember following that horse. Capture my ship, Gregory, but he can't make it. And I was hoping to get somebody else to talk about some of the plus factors regarding that. And we take it from there. We got 2 hours, well, less than a 2 hour, maybe an hour and a half, because I have a busy day tomorrow. So yeah, so that's it. But let me just bring in my good mate here as well. How are you, Herbert?
I'm good, thanks.
You're good.
I'm good.
What are you drinking today, boss? Rum cream. Hold on. You know what Gary would say? Gary would say, is it a rum cream in a bottle or is a rum cream in a glass to drink? Or is a profile business that? Oh, you got it. You got it. You got it in the glass. Wait, wait. Yeah, well, at least you got it there. And Michelle, how are you doing tonight, Michelle? Balance and Wellness Tuesday Burn and all on the live. Michelle, of course, I sent you the link that if you want to come in later, you're free to come on. You got the floor as usual. Michelle, what are you drinking this evening? Those on TikTok, what are you drinking this evening? Gregor says, tell me. Yeah, as I was talking earlier today, what I mean, you've been following up with what's going on in the UK. What's your take on that? I saw O'Neill earlier. He's gonna come back. I think he's gonna come back.
I think the Home Secretary is trying to start a fire before she will set up the fire.
Oh, the Home Secretary,
Yeah,
Suella Braverman. Yeah,
Braverman. Yeah,
yeah,
I think she's trying to invoke some kind of hatred. Don't know on what side,
yes,
but she's trying to get the police. She's trying to get people to hate the police more than they should be hated right now.
really.
Yeah.
But she said that she given their full support. But
When?
that was after the fact. She said that she met with them and she said it was she gave them their full support, like how Rishi Sunak met with the
Well,
police. Yeah,
it it was her so-called letter was premature.
the letter.
Yeah, the letter was premature, or the article was premature, right? I think police should be allowed to police them to be an independent organization
Mm,
and not to be used as a political football.
yes. I see someone just said here that the pro-Palestine march should have been moved to another day. Um, and a few people have been saying that. What's our take on that, ladies and
It,
gentlemen?
it doesn't matter what day it was. Um, let's say it should have been moved. It should have had the same feedback or reaction,
Mm,
right? What she's trying to do is tell the police use heavy-handed tactics, shut them down before they start.
yes.
Now, if you do that, you're calling for Hamas and Hezbollah to come into England.
To come into England.
Yes,
Uh,
right? Because you're shutting down the voice of the people.
mm,
Peaceful protest is legal,
mm,
but if you try to invoke violence in it before it even starts, you're asking for trouble.
yeah. What about the view, as someone said, the problem was it was on Remembrance Day.
I don't think that should cause people or cause
Mm,
the minister to be that divisive
mm,
in her speech or in her article, right? If they had meet if they had gone ahead and meet with the organizers
mm,
to propose a different day, then that would have been a different argument.
mm.
But trying to shut them down from before they start,
Yes.
you're asking for trouble.
Ladies and gentlemen, and I'm getting some reaction here on TikTok. Is that the police estimate 300,000 pro-Palestinian protesters calling for a Gaza ceasefire march in central London. More than 100 counter-protesters have been arrested, including a large number in Plymouth near the protest route. Officer earlier faced aggression from some of the counter-protesters, who include some far right groups near the Cenotaph was Memorial. Police say War Memorial. So at 1100, hundreds of people gathered. So generally speaking, what we are seeing, it was generally a peaceful day. I mean, I believe that they should march. I know many people say it is Remembrance Day, but I believe that Remembrance Day is a day whereby those who lay down their lives, they lay it down so people can have freedom of expression, freedom of movements, and not to be muffled or muzzled by the Third Reich or Nazi Germany.
I think we should, as much as we want people to accept us, we should be willing and be ready to accept others and
Yeah.
their views. That's my that's my thought. Maybe I'm wrong. That's my opinion,
Mm,
right? Um, Not that everybody's opinion or not that everybody's view is illegal or wrong,
mm,
right? Um, Sometimes we have our rights and we give it up by the things we do or say.
yes.
Okay.
What about this point here? And I flag up this point here. Could it be that that's the statement which was made by the Home Secretary in the letter, whether approved by the number 10 or not, was a plan of the government similar to the poll tax, whereby that was done. Many people make a lot of noise, but it was a way of ushering the council tax. So this was a test, a testing ground to see um, what the British public are saying, and testing the waters in a way. Because I believe, ladies and gentlemen, and also Herbert, that when government ministers, Suella Braverman, Priti Patel, these persons who are there as ministers, they are not just speaking off their own head. They are actually speaking on the basis of a level of collective responsibility, and the fact that they also are working with the government, i.e., when it comes on to reparation and slavery, you notice not even the king is saying sorry. Nobody is saying it. Is like right through the whole grain, that is a policy. They got this policy which they stand with, and they move within that policy. They stay within the parameters. So is it Suella Braverman? Is it Priti Patel? Or is it the government?
I think there are certain offices
Mm,
where once you have given them that responsibility,
yeah.
they take it on themselves to say they are the government and they are at liberty to say or do whatever they want to do,
Mm,
right? Um, this home secretary, I've experienced quite, I've seen quite a few since I've been here for this short time,
yeah.
right? This home secretary, she has no bridle, and she thinks she can say whatever she can want to say whenever she wants to say. Put it this way:
mm,
you own a company,
mm,
you hire a secretary, but the secretary is telling you how to run your company.
mm.
That's the predicament that Sunak has found himself in.
But could it be a situation whereby companies, guys
Hmm.
like Richard Branson, guys like these millionaires who are of the different companies, sometimes some of them have not been like into tertiary education for a high level. They hire persons who are below them who are more have more brilliance in that particular subject area. So therefore, the secretary or the chief financial controller or whatever like that will be there telling the head based on and giving them advice as to what is the best thing to do. Or do you think
Yet,
are you saying that the likes of the home secretary is seeking as much as possible, as they say, to launch her own campaign? I don't see that, but that's what people are actually saying.
I don't see that. But what I am seeing
Mm,
is someone who wants to make her voice be heard, make her put a name out there for herself,
yes,
right? To say she wants to create a legacy
yes.
that she was the one who caused this to happen. She was the
Mm,
one who caused that to happen, but she has not been around long enough for a legacy to be created.
yes.
So she's actually tearing down the legacy before she start building it.
Mm, mm, mm. Okay, well, that's a point there. You know, well, I can see some person I say we should all focus on looking forward, not backward in history. Um, Rather than reparation, it's better that we trade and invest to improve a people's lot. I think he's looking at different how Chatham House rules. Question: who is Chatham House? It's a corporation. Well, that back again to the whole thing about Chatham House rules, because I believe that a lot of policies and a lot of things which happens in government, and we're talking about the Jamaican government, the UK government, USA government. These are things which are shaped and formulated, and we are just sometimes getting the tailspin or a snippet of it, but it is not. I personally, I'm personally one of those persons who don't like to say resign, resign, resign to persons. Everybody like to say resign. The Scottish secretary is saying resign. The Labour Party is saying resign. And guess what? If she resign, if and if
We
Rishi
don't
Sunak,
know who we're gonna get.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Remember, a lot of people are saying they wish Priti. Remember, people are actually saying that they wish Priti Patel come back.
Is it?
People were saying they wish Priti Patel come back, and I want to, and the other thing also is this: if she goes, Labour is going to say this is what Labour is going to say, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about the UK here. Labour is going to say that's the Labour Party, not Labour Party Jamaica. The Labour Party is going to say, there we tell you the Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, he hired somebody in a position where she was sacked from by Liz Truss, of all persons, Liz Truss. And then if he doesn't sack her, they're gonna say, "There we go, a weak Prime Minister," blah blah blah. So I
Yeah,
think
but
Richard Sunak have his back is against the wall. That's what I'm saying.
Silver,
Yeah,
let me give you this analogy. Yeah,
yeah,
you're going to an event
yeah,
and you want to wear a particular shirt.
yes,
You dip into your closet and that shirt is dirty.
mm,
You can't wear it. What's your next move? You look for another shirt which you think may be good enough.
yes,
But that shirt is a little bit soiled.
yes.
So what do? You look for your cleanest dirty shirt.
The cleanest dirt,
Yeah,
the cleanest dirty shirt.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
So if government should resign or push out of number 11,
Mm. Number 10. Yeah.
Do we know who we going? Do we know who we are going to get?
Yeah. Well, as far as I'm concerned, I believe the Conservative Party is exhausted by the players now, and that is why they're leading up to this election. So maybe the best thing that Rishi Sunak can do is just to steady the ship and just move forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
but steady the ship and move forward. How?
yeah. Well, somebody just jump in and say Andrew Holness is the most corrupt PM in the Jamaican modern history. I'm just throwing everything out there. It just like when I'm just throwing the pan, the backwater, and everything like that. Just like when what's his name? Major Mackerel one time said he got bun.
Yeah, you get the whole factory.
And the lady said, and he said, boy, I'm gonna get bun, bread, cheese, everything, all the
Everything.
factory. So this version is just throw everything tonight, they're just throwing everything out. Andrew is a bun bread factory,
Well,
everything.
I would I would tell that person who wrote
Yeah,
that even Stevie Wonder could have said that about Andrew Holness.
yeah. Even Stevie Wonder can see.
Even Stevie Wonder can see.
I tell her, one of the guys who have the vision that many people keep talking all the while is Stevie Wonder. You know,
Yeah,
or a person to write so many songs and everything. He
yeah,
must be seeing
yeah,
something that we can't see.
yeah. Because he saw the writing on the wall.
Yes, yes. You know, I want to say to persons on TikTok, actually, I've got the facilities that if you want to joining and you want to, I've got a facility where I can let your voice be loudened or illuminated or highlighted, so therefore you can actually um, so you can speak. So if you want to come in and share your views, that's no problem, you know, as much as but it is very clear because France, and I'm glad I'm talking about this topic because this is a topic that resonates with everyone, and it is, and it's not something to shy away from. I know a lot of people shy away from this topic, but I believe you don't have to shy away from things where you can have discussion with, in a sense, you know. Um, the the whole aspect of this is showing something that O'Neill and I we talk about a lot: the lack of effective leadership in the world. You know, Francis over there saying that we need to stop seeing what is call it, killing of young children. The UN, I think that somebody said the UN is inept. They can't really get it together at the same time to sort of come together and get some resolution going whereby Israel is just doing what they want to do. America,
I mean,
yeah,
because the lack of a natural born leader,
mm,
right? With that person not around, and everybody is just running their own show.
yes,
There isn't an adult in the room to say let's come meet at a certain point to
mm,
discuss issues critical to world peace or the geopolitical
mm.
system. We're going to have all these things. There's no doubt about it.
You just said something a while ago. You just said a while ago, not an adult in the room. Is it that bad?
There's no adult in the room
Wow.
because if if there was an election here back right now,
Mm,
do can we safely say that we would get a prime minister capable of governing this country?
mm,
If there's an election in the US now, can we say that
yeah.
we'll get a president capable of running that country and by extension governing external factors of the world? Because there's two people. Yesterday, a journalist said one was too old and
Mm.
one was too crazy.
I guess we are referring to the USA with Biden
Yes, yes,
and Trump.
yes,
Mm.
right? One is trying to keep himself out of prison,
And focusing on that a lot.
and focusing on that a lot, where he's now threatening to arrest all his opponents.
All the people that when he gets in, that's the first thing he's gonna do.
That's the first order of business for him.
Not calming the waters.
No, no.
Mm.
He's trying to create an autocratic state in 2023
Mm.
in the US.
Michelle, what's your take on that, Michelle? In regards to, because right now what we are seeing is that Trump is leading the way, and yet he's not even on the campaign. He's on. He's always Trump never stopped campaigning. He's always having on the campaign, but he has not been at any of these debates as well. And somehow he's leading, and people are dropping out, and he's still leading all the way. Um, and Trump has been always saying that the election, no, these wars, Ukraine, Middle East, these would not have happened if he was there. He's he has said that.
He, he's delusional.
Mm,
He is delusional
yes,
because what he would have done, he tried. He tried to extort Zelensky.
yes.
Right, that call was intercepted,
He tried to
and
yeah,
he tried to extort Zelensky,
yes,
and
yes.
he was only acquitted along party lines.
Mm, mm,
Right, not that he wasn't guilty of it, but they voted along party lines to keep him as president.
yes, yes,
Yes, January 6th, they voted along party line to not to acquit him, not to convict him on a second impeachment.
mm,
And now the the Republicans are now his lawyers fighting the courts to free him.
yes,
Right? So we have to ask ourselves the question, right?
yes, yeah, uh-huh.
We have to ask ourselves the question, where does freedom, where does democracy go from here?
Yeah, but can I just say, and Michelle just mentioned this point here. Michelle just said a while ago that Trump is the man. Trump says he doesn't have to go to these doggone debates. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have to go to these doggone debates. Um,
Because he doesn't have the substance
yeah,
to go.
but hang on a second. Hang on a second. I'm gonna just be a devil's advocate, no, an angel's advocate, because somebody just called me pastor a while ago, so I can't be a devil's advocate. I'll be an angel's advocate, an angel's advocate right here to say that. But out of the last two presidents, and save for Twitter, Trump
Yes.
actually accomplished a lot.
In terms of,
You know,
in terms
stabilized
of,
the economy, except for people tails wagging. He stabilized the economy.
no,
There was no sort of war between any countries during the time that he was there. He went and have all these conversations.
with who?
He spoke to our King Jong Un who he spoke to
For,
all of these guys.
but
He
hold on,
went over to Korea.
hold on.
Yeah.
Let me let me put this
Mm,
in perspective,
yeah.
right?
Uh,
While Trump didn't start a war, he caused Afghanistan to go up in turmoil. Yes,
really?
yes.
Yeah, but because he was focusing on his economy. He was
No, no,
focused
no,
on
no, no,
America.
no, no,
Ah, he was
no.
focused. I'm sure he was focused.
After
Somebody just said a while ago, Trump got a
no,
stable economy.
after the election,
Yes.
he signed that document for US to leave Afghanistan on the 30th of August
Mm.
2021.
Is that the one that caught out Biden?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
But even if he signed it, but I'm of the view that even if he signed it,
Yes.
and that was the plan, because
Yes.
there were things that Obama also had signed. Because I always believe that the president is
Mm-hmm.
subject to the presidency,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore, if certain things are planned, but
Mm-hmm.
the conditions or the environment is not in place, then they can sort of make sure that it is in place. I must say that Biden did a boo boo there, even though Trump set the pace, but in order to make sure that things
No,
happen
he
properly. Yeah.
he tried to stay, and the Taliban tell him not. I mean, after
Yes.
he tried,
Yes.
right? But because they were so happy to see um the U.S. hope,
Mm.
they would not extend their stay not on not I mean after 12 o'clock on the day,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes. Well, that's very interesting. But that's a and that's going to be a very debatable subject leading up to an election. I always wonder. Michelle always said, "Don't even think about it; it won't happen." But I always ask, if Trump goes to prison, will all his Secret Service goes with him?
Well,
Michelle, will all the hi Sandra, will all the Secret Service goes with Trump if he goes to? But listen, say what you say the last bit on that one. 'Cause I want to jump away from that topic there. Uh, you know.
it, um, I don't think he should have been afforded Secret Service protection since he left after he left office.
Yeah,
Honestly,
but he was a president. He was a
yes, but he was a president, but he
yeah,
also tried to overthrow the tried to go against the constitution.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I said them's are desperate, you know. Anyway, Joe, Joe can't run another term. I don't think Joe can run the next day.
No, I think no. Joe is the only one that can beat Trump.
Joe Biden.
Yes, Joe live rent free in Donald Trump's head.
Right, right. You know that, Michelle? You know, somebody said, Noreen Hunt, who is delusional? Is it Herbert delusional or Trump delusional
No, no.
or no,
She's talking about the Orange Jesus.
no, I'm asking her the question, man. You
Yeah,
can't say
man. I'm answering the question for her.
you
She's talking
can't
about
answer
the Orange
her.
Jesus.
I'm saying, Noreen, who is delusional? Herbert, Trump, or Biden? Please answer that question before we can move on. So, Joe isn't physically available. So, there's the answer. Well, she said it. It's not you, so you're lucky. Trump is delusional. Trump is delusional. So there we go. There we go. But listen, I want to jump on something. There's a is I listened to something in Jamaica recently whereby there was a gentleman who was walking and he got lost. But one of the things that struck out a lot, they said he went on a nature walk. And
Yeah.
I just want to touch on this bit again. Nature walk. And his name was Rodney Deer. Rodney
There.
Deer. And may rest in peace. I think I have a picture of him because I spoke about him the other day. Rodney Deer. He's from the UK there. And may rest in peace and may his family condolences to his family as well. I saw their pictures. He was I swear I know this is Virgin and I swear I know him. I can I'm not gonna swear,
Yeah.
but I think I know him. The face. See him at some places in the UK or
He
so.
was
But he was,
diabetic.
yeah. And this is what Tony Kelly also mentioned that he was diabetic.
Yes.
But a bit about nature walk is this. Nature walk is this. I I'm of the view that I do a lot of walking. I love nature walking. And since the COVID bit 2020, I started to do a lot of walking. And I've walked with persons in Jamaica live. I've walked with former Senator Norman Grant. I walked with another lady. I walked with persons in Bulgaria. I walked with persons in Iran. And and the thing about it is that they go live with me at the same time. The ones that I did with Jamaica, um, they walked. I know the young lady. She walked in Emancipation Park, and some of them couldn't come out so early because of safety factor. And the question is it if you go to Jamaica, would you walk? Would you go on a I walk early in the morning. Herbert, you gone a while ago. Would you walk? You know, you know, persons. Sorry, yeah. Would you walk in Jamaica? Um, would you walk in that sort of safety net also? And I put that out to persons listening. I put that out to you as well. Herbert, would you walk? Go on your nature walk in Jamaica?
Yes, I would. I would. I would.
Yeah. Mhm.
I would. Yeah, let me tell you something, right? Jamaica has its faults,
Yes.
as with any other country.
Mm.
But the people in Jamaica, they know who they're looking for, and it's not you,
Mm.
right? Now, first, if you're not healthy, don't go by yourself
Yeah.
because you need someone to help you.
Yeah.
If you do not know where you're going, don't go by yourself
Mm.
because you enter into you can enter, but by walking around, you lost your way. You don't know where you came from or where you go or where you're going,
Yes.
right? So my advice to people from a security standpoint: go with someone. Ensure that your phone is fully charged. Ensure you have a survival kit with you.
Yes. What Michelle Clark is saying is depending on what kind of nature walking, one of those intense trails you have to train for that. I
And she's
remember like
correct.
I remember like when I went to Blue Mountain one time, that was a hectic walk. I wasn't trained for it or anything. But those intense things there was something else. Um, but if it is just taking a walk around the park, generally,
That's different. That's
mm,
different. But in that terrain of South St. Elizabeth, it's not easy.
yes,
I'm not sure if you've been to St. Elizabeth yet,
mm,
or you're just still in your enclave of Ocherius, right?
yeah,
But
I stay in the city of Outruers, yes.
yes, St. Elizabeth, one of the largest parishes in Jamaica, can is very mountainous as well,
Mm,
and you can get lost.
mm, mm, mm.
So my advice to people watching us now is that if you choose to go on a nature walk in Jamaica, please go with someone that you know. Go with someone who knows the area
And the terrain,
and the terrain. Don't go by yourself.
and there are things now trackers because I mean trackers on phones and all those sort of things. I know I've got like a tracker for my daughter. You know what I mean? And on the phone they got all these different gadgets. uh I guess it is something because many people say that even though the news and the officials are saying it was they're not looking for anyone else, many people are actually saying, well, let's wait to see a bit to see if there was anything any foul play, but it seemed like there was no foul play in this particular case here.
No, I think again people are jumping to conclusions, right? People die of natural. People die naturally every day,
Yes.
right? It is only sad that in Jamaica there's so-called no natural deaths anymore. So
What do you
when
mean no,
someone
no, no,
when someone died naturally,
people
people are
surprised
people are surprised.
because it is not the normal thing for natural
It is
death.
not the norm. No.
Mm. Yes, yes, yes. I see where you're coming from. So therefore, is it that people are somewhat sensitized to a certain way, um, and everyone is expecting the worst? So it's
Yes.
It's like I was watching. I don't know what I was watching. I was watching a program the other day, and the program was like this. It was like I don't know. It was a comedy, and they said we have identified the burglar of this person, and he's this. His name is James Michael, a white, and then there are two other black persons. Then they say yes, yes. And it was like, finally, it's not us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It finally is not us because you and I know that, and I think that as well. That anytime you hear about somebody get killed or they find somebody, I don't know about you, but I always wait for a bit. Please, let it not be a black person. Let it not be.
I am.
Okay.
I'm the same. I am the same.
Yeah. So this is a situation whereby you're normally expecting that. So in a sense like this, now we're expecting the worst
Yeah.
in a way than something natural, which is
Yes.
a shame. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I mentioned exactly someone who knows the terrain and bits and pieces. There's something there's something also about crime, which which since it's touching on the periphery of crime because I think there was a couple of killings in Jamaica. You might remember it. I can't remember it exactly, but young person and the state of emergency is up again in a couple other areas and someone was saying that, and people are saying that it doesn't make sense, but the PNP says it doesn't make sense. It's not it's the right, wrong way. And some are saying if the PNP and the JLP work together on this thing, they could be a breakthrough in crime. And I think I heard also the Prime Minister said that they're going to be studying crime, to understand it a bit more. But I look at it and said, come on, man, for years. There's a, I mean,
All all the ministers, all the parliamentarians,
yes,
right? Yeah, yes, Michelle, you're right. You're either killed or you may wake up dead.
yes,
Yeah, but
yes.
all the parliamentarians are legal scholars, legal minds,
Mm.
right? But it is putting the correct person in the correct portfolio.
Not based on loyalty.
No, not based on loyalty. Put the correct person in the correct portfolio. Politics is a result orientated
Mm.
job. Yes?
Mm, mm.
And if you keep putting your
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 mate.
cronies
Yes,
in a job in a portfolio that you think they may do well. Yeah, they may do well for themselves because your bank account keep getting fat.
yes,
But will the country benefit?
yes. What the Michelle here says? Not even the murder. It's unhealthy, so it's not dying from old age. Oh wow, that's
No.
very hard cry, isn't it?
People don't die from old age in Jamaica anymore.
But the killing of the mothers and the old people, them chop them up. Mm.
Well, because of their they have they have an appetite.
Is there insatiable appetite?
Yeah,
Mm.
to cover up their wrongs of their children and grandchildren. Yes.
Yeah.
So whenever that time comes, everybody in that household is eliminated, and they know why.
Is it the quacker? Is it the quacker catch factor? If you can't catch quacker, you get in church.
No,
But
no,
now
no,
they
no,
catch
no,
everything,
no,
dog,
no, no.
everything. Yeah.
This is not no quackle, no, no.
Yeah.
This is taking um the entire family for what they are worth.
Mm.
And we know it's coming from lottery scamming. Back in the 80s and 90s, it was drugs. Now it has transitioned. It has been morphed into drugs, little bit of drugs,
Uh,
but more so the lottery scamming.
I haven't heard much about that though. I've not heard much about this scamming thing. Is it still going on in Jamaica? Or
It
they
is
much,
still going on. It's still going
much
on.
mm,
It is still going on. But the government is trying their very best to
mm,
stamp it out. They have implemented some changes at the call centers,
yeah.
and that has started to bear some fruit.
But then at the same time, one could say that the government, in a way, is having some success with crime. Is that a fair statement? Because after all these years, there must be some level of success because it's a crime in real terms. When you look at the figures have dropped, but if you keep hearing the crime being talked about a lot these days, like the recent case of the killing of the minister's daughter and his the child's mother, and the killing of the little boy recently, if you're hearing them consistently, continuously, it is not as if to say it wasn't happening before, but you're hearing about it more now. So it seems like crime is going on more, but that doesn't mean to say it's
Yes,
going on more. It's just being reported more. Is that a fair statement?
you hear about it more,
Yes,
not because it's happening more,
more. Yes,
but because of the access to news. The
quickly. Now,
same thing used to be happening in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s.
mm,
But remember, in those days, in the 90s, 80s and 90s, we depended upon Gleaner, the Daily News, RJR, JBC. Then in the 90s, we depended upon CVM TV, TVJ, the Observer, the Gleaner, right? The X News. Now we're depending upon mobile phones.
see, once I went to Jamaica, yeah, my brother picked me up, and then when I'm on our way to Ocherus, which is the best place in Jamaica, as we all know, ladies and gentlemen.
In your opinion, let's carry on.
As we're going on to Ocherus, there were some reported killings of people, and the, he, the police report was going through a certain way. The report was going through, and he actually mimicked the report as if he knew
Yes,
exactly what the report is going to
yes,
be.
yes,
He knew exactly what the report was going to be.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the same amount of murders that used to happen in Jamaica in the 90s,
Mm,
early 2000s.
yes.
It's the same about it's it's the same amount
Mm,
being announced more frequently.
yes.
So Jamaica is number two in the world with the per per capita
Mm,
numbers of murder committed. I think Venezuela is number one,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But the the government doesn't seem to know what to do.
Well, you know, I wrote an article many years ago. 'Cause I used to write a lot in the letters and get letter of the days and so like that. And one letter, I never forget this letter. It was I'm gonna look if it exists. I'm gonna look online. I don't know where it is, but is it the one I got the silver pen award for? I don't know if it's the one I got.
Continue, Sylvan. Give me a second. Let
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. That's all right. I think it's the
Mhm.
one maybe I got the silver pen award for. And the letter, ladies and gentlemen, was called "Bankruptcy of the Wills Fuel Crime." Yeah, bankruptcy of the wills fuel crime, and the 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 prime minister at that time was PJ Patterson, and the minister of security was Peter Phillips, Dr. Peter Phillips. And what I said was bankruptcy of the wills fuel crimes, mean to say that until I believe this is just my personal view, until the two sides come together, just like how they formulated the vi- uh, Vision 2030 as a bipartisan collective whereby Jamaica is to be a fully developed country by 2030. I believe very strongly as well that the two sides need to come together when it comes on to crime and try to work together as much as possible. And there is a division that they're having now regarding the state of emergency, whereby the opposition believe that this is not the right way forward, and of course the government is saying that they're not getting that support in a way. And I believe somehow that there need to be a bipartisan approach whereby the leaders can come together and having these Vale Royal talks, which they used to have before. I think the Vale Royal talk happened once recently because of public opinion and because of pressure, and that state that it seemed like it's not happening. I was just referring a while ago, you know, Herbert, to that. I believe that the whole aspect of crime can be dealt with if they're serious. And I was mentioning about the article I wrote about the bankruptcy of wills fuel crimes, you know, and that if they come together and they work together, why do you think the state of emergency? That is, if you have a view, it they're not working together with it. Is it not a tool in the hands of the government that can be used?
Yes, it can be a tool if used effectively.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm.
Remember a trial that has just been concluded this year.
Yeah, the big guys them.
Yeah,
The, not the big guy, but the top gunman them top.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
One of those on trial was a member of the Jamaica Defense Force.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Mm.
And while he was on duty
Yes.
in some of those areas,
Yes.
he was actually looking out for his boss to come through.
You was looking out for his what?
His boss, black man, to come through.
Uh, uh.
And he stopped one of the guys and asked him, because black man was now in custody and he didn't know.
Yes.
And he said that he's he wants to see black man because the things need to turn up.
Sorry, I'm gonna ask you a question. Just
Yes,
for my ignorance. When you say black man, what do you mean?
the leader of the gang,
Okay, well, black man is
right?
leader. Okay, yes.
He said when the bars are forward because the things are dead down, things need to turn up,
Yes.
meaning that they need to start kill more people.
Mm.
So you're talking about putting the nation's security in the hands of some, I would say, low life who has no regard for humanity.
Yes.
And that is why the the um the SOEs and the ZOZOs, they can't be effective. You have ZOZOs and SOEs in area, but tomorrow morning you hear four people
Yeah.
dead just around the corner from them. How does that happen?
Mm. Mm.
Another thing is the militarization of our Jamaica Constabulary Force. It cannot work.
When you say militarization, what are you saying? Is from the leadership angle, or they're trying
Um,
together as one?
if you notice, the police in Jamaica doesn't wear the uniform that we wore back in the early days, 80s, 90s, 2000s. They're all dressed in denim, looking like armored personnel,
Really?
right? So where you'd have a police officer on a beat patrol in his
Yeah.
sharply dressed in his red seam and looking like a decent police officer. Now
Yes.
you have these persons where people are afraid of going up to them and going up and speaking with them because they don't know what they're going to get. Their faces are covered.
Yes, yes.
You
I do
can't.
know, do notice that their face is covered. Yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. Mm.
So you don't know who you're talking with, and because of that, it is creating a divide in the Jamaican population.
Is this because the leadership of the police force is led by an army person, one who's not a police? Is it that maybe they're learning on the job or so, um, or they feel comfortable with that type of dress code, linking in the army with it at the same time?
Um, I would say because of his military background, right? But you
That should be a
cannot
plus,
have
isn't it?
no. It shouldn't be because you have no policing
Mm.
experience. So you're actually
Yes,
learning on the job.
yes,
But while you're learning on the job, you do not have people around you to tell you what you need to hear. You have people around you to say, if you say jump, they say how high or how fast.
right.
Over the past, I would say 30 years, there's only been three police commissioners that has risen through the ranks of the
Of the
JCA.
police.
Yeah,
Yeah, yes.
either three or four. Francis Forbes, George Quayle, um,
Lucian Thomas.
yeah, Lucius Thomas, yeah,
Yes,
Owen Ellington,
yes.
four.
Mm. One of them passed away recently, isn't it? I
Yeah,
forgot.
that was Lucius.
Lucius, yes,
Yeah, right. The others have been members of the army. One of them, I think, I don't remember which one it was, came and he lasted 2 months because what he came and saw was not something that could have been fixed overnight.
yes, yes, yes.
And he
What?
stepped.
Yeah. Just 1 second, 1 second. Just a catch up, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you to Talk and Sip Saturday night, and we're just looking at different topics. The topic has been and the King's Speech, and did I say King's Speech? No,
No.
we're not about King's Speech. I don't know where that one come from. Let me change that one there. Not King's Speech. It was about Remembrance Day and World Impact. Remembrance Day and World Impact. That's the topic, really. I don't know why King's Speech. Well, King's Speech was still important because that happened in the UK. Thanks for those on Instagram, those on TikTok, those on Facebook. And of course, if you want to join in, you can join in directly on YouTube. But if you want to speak as well, and you have something burning, I can facilitate the process that you can speak. And now we are talking about Jamaica and the crime impact. I want to touch on Michelle a bit later. We're going to touch on it about the food because I noticed that Pepsi is on a drive in Jamaica as well, and these food. Yeah, back to what you're saying now.
Yeah. Yeah. So um, the the impact on crime is something that they need to deal with on an administrative level,
Mm,
right? You cannot be you cannot have the majority of the government but still cannot understand how to deal with the crime and the crime situation.
yes. That's very interesting. But I strongly do believe, though, Herbert, that the whole aspect of this, there need to be some sort of join up approach with both sides coming together. There need to be this join up approach as much as possible. Let me just check something here. O'Neill, how are you, man? He went to save Chump and he's back. Cause sorry, O'Neill, I don't know if you got the joke. No, he's I think no, he's not. He's not hearing us yet. Um, let's keep talking until O'Neill.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I mean, fighting crime is not a one person thing, it's a collaborative effort,
yes. O'Neill,
right?
you back? No.
It's a collaborative effort,
Yes.
but you can only collaborate when two people are collaborating.
Yeah. 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 One can collaborate when two is collaborating.
That's right.
So therefore, it's a fundamental. And is it that the okay? There's everybody's talking about election. Cause election is coming up in the UK very soon. Election is coming up in Jamaica very soon, and and that is one of the things because I notice and I do commend that. I always say this as well. I notice the prime minister is talking about all the different things that they have done, but also I've heard different ministers are saying that do not let the opposition comes in because if the opposition comes in, they want to mash up everything. And I'm not sure to agree with those statements there, but I believe that they need to say as much as possible as to what they are doing. Let me see if I can get Anil. Anil, are you ready? Put your hands up. Can you hear me? I don't know. Yeah. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now.
Okay. We actually said a while ago that you went back to save Trump.
No, I was having some audio issues.
Yeah, yeah. How are you doing anyhow still? I was over there in the
That's good.
that zone.
It's good. I was actually was last night. I'm feeling a little bit tired because I was at a Edwin Allen High School fundraiser last night.
How
Yeah.
is it?
So it was good. It was good. A lot of folks came out and we raised a lot of money for the Edwin Allen School. So it was good.
Edwin Allen in for Jamaica.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's a chapter here in
Okay.
the chapter in New York, and there's a Greater Washington chapter. So they have a gala every year, and it happened for the last 4 or 5 years.
You
And
see, O'Neill Silver only know about those schools on in Ocho.
uh, I know because there's a school called what's the name of this school again? I forget the name. Something with a Y.
Your
York
castle.
Somewhere in
York
the bush.
Your
Somewhere in the
castle.
bush. Some bush
Okay?
place.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Well,
York Castle. That's some bush place in the Brownstown.
Your kiss. I never forget the first day I went to that school. My father took me up there, and I was a little boy. They called my name, and they lift me up. As a little boy there, because my name is Silburn City, and every time that name is mentioned, everybody look on. Oh, what kind of idiot name? Jamaican people there. But, I'm a virgin there. Oh, what kind of idiot name that? Where that name that come from? And when they're doing the roll call in Jamaica, A all the way down to S, I always
Uh-huh.
fear and trembling when they reach to S. Because I know everybody's gonna look on for me and say, how can I name that?
The one thing I would say with Jamaicans, and
Yeah,
most people understand the culture, is like they give you names like if you're around my family, they call me Mark, but
yeah.
Mark is nowhere in my birth certificate, right? And the explanation that my grandmother gave me was, well, we don't want people to know your real name because I'm like, what? So they
Well,
give you nicknames, right?
well,
So
O'Neill, I can tell you that half of Jamaica's criminals. You can never go into their little district and ask for Tom Jones or Mary Jane.
because nobody knows them by
Nobody
those.
knows them.
yeah,
Nobody knows them.
You have,
It'd be
you,
interesting to do a historical context of why Jamaican parents sort of give a nickname. It'd be interesting to sort of zoom because I just never understand it because every person in my family, every person, friends, they all have nicknames that are not.
that's that's most of Jamaica,
Yeah.
but I can tell you though that
apart from Silburn. He's from Ultra, yes.
I can tell you though that also spelling of names is only when I got big. I big and finally saw my birth certificate. I realized that my name was being spelled Silbourne for a long time, and it was Sy.
But by the way, Herbert, Silburn actually have another name. I forget the name. The guy, the principal from York Castle, call him a name. Oh, is it Rupert? So he's here smiling, but he also
Come
has
on,
a name.
Silver.
Yeah,
Speak.
I forgot what the name.
You mean my middle names?
No,
No,
no, no, no.
what the principal from York Castle don't call you Silburn. He calls you another name. You look at him smiling.
Must be City or something like that.
No, it was like I'm like, who is that? He's like, what? He didn't tell you that's his name.
We have so many different names, man. Because
Because
man used to name like Scratchy, man used to name like Skilla.
You
yeah,
know that's the other thing there. Jamaica, if you broke your hand, they call you broke hand. That's
yes,
the thing. It's like the Jamaicans will give you names based on the
just like
fact that
that,
you had an accident.
Yeah,
just like that.
Bun
yeah.
up face. I have a friend, I tell you, and is a dear friend, and he had an accident, burned half of the face. And forever since they call him Bun up. It's like everybody else, like even to this day, I saw him last night. Bun up. And the man come back to school. And guess what? Everybody start calling the man Bun up.
Yeah,
We, I was gonna ask Michelle what they used to call it. It's not only the parents giving name; the community demands self will give you a nickname. I remember
true.
one time, yeah, I, 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 somebody said, "Boy, I'm gonna see you for a long time." And checks, you're dead. You're not dead. You're not dead. You be dead. That's how man I'll meet man.
But Jamaicans, like my sister, well, my grandmother passed away a couple of years back. My sister hadn't been to Jamaica in a long time. And she was so upset because people come back and say, "You fatty?" And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
"You're
yeah,
so big, you get so big."
yeah,
And she's like, "What they talk?" I said, "Sis,
yeah,
you know that's how Jamaican people is, right?
yeah.
They don't mince words."
No, they, they're not very kind with it.
And there's no sort of tact or diplomacy with it.
No,
I tell you one of the worst thing actually. One of the funny thing is that you're walking through Brixton, just casually walking through Brixton, and you only hear someone say Seymour. That's our middle name,
Oh
Seymour.
yes,
the
Seymour.
Seymour. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
And then Seymour, and I said, "When you come foreign?" Oh, since I hear so, that's just a mother. And of course, when you hear somebody calling you Seymour, you know exactly that
They come
person
from
knows
London
you.
district. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
know your family, they know everything. And you have to say, just easy. And I'm not talk loud, you know. You know, like people that walk with a mobile phone and not talk loud these days.
Yeah.
Not talk loud, so just
hmm
easy, no man.
Yeah,
Just
I
easy, no man.
I tell you, I fell in high school and I had to get 36 stitches.
Yeah.
And the next day, you know what they call me? Stitches. They're like stitches. Just because I'm like, man, even last night, stitches. Uh,
Because that also a lot of criminals got founded in Jamaica
mm.
You mean by
by police.
the
Yeah,
mm,
by law enforcement.
yes.
They go on the street and say, "Yo, the stitches there. Oh, see me on you, them man." But if you ask them for need,
You
they're
know
like,
that.
"How many years so?" No, sir, me don't know him. Me never see him yet. You don't know stitches. Yeah, man, I don't know where they live, man. Just run.
Listen, even my dear uncle knows me very well from a barn. When I got married and everybody called him Silbert, you know. I don't know anybody call me Silbert. I know him as Seymour.
That's right.
Seymour, you know. Buddy, what we're talking about, we're casually, and we can go back briefly, quickly on that and move on. Was in America with what is happening there with how Trump is seen to be the top player while he's on a different reign, fighting for being out of prison, but somehow he's there on the front line and you got Biden there. Hubert as well. Herbert says he's going to be the campaign manager. He's going to be the campaign manager for Trump, for Biden, because Biden's the only person who can beat Trump. What's your take on your analysis there?
It's sort of interesting times that we're sort of living in. And I think history is repeating itself in many different dimensions.
Hold on, name is 42 dumpling.
Wow.
That one is
That is
42 dumpling. Richard, that's the best. Yeah, carry on, man.
no, I think
Yeah.
there's something going on, and I'm reading this book called The Guns of August,
Mm,
and it's talk about sort of the lead up to World War I and how leaders made decisions between the UK, Germany, and sort of Europe, as you will, and how they made decisions that led to World War I. And one of the things they talked about is how, for example, in the UK, they knew they created some pact between different countries,
yeah.
but they never told it to the British population that, hey, at this level, we made some pact. In the event war happened, we're going to ally with these folks. Most Britain back then did not know that.
Yeah.
So if you sort of look at all of the things in history, World War I, World War II, and you look at where we are today, you have people who are, colonialists, you name it. And the thing that people always try to figure out is who are speaking on behalf of the people. And when you have a politician that comes around, such as Trump, you have Le Pen in France, you have the lady in Italy, that speaks things the people want to hear.
Yeah.
And then you see there's a perception
Mm,
that in the US that there are two justice system, right? We're using it as a perception, right? And people will say, well, that's not true. Well, you might say that, I might say that, but there are people who are feeling that. And I think that's where you see Trump is where he's at, because there are people in this country that thinks he's fighting for them,
mm,
because he's using words where the normal person that says, you know what, it's a long time that I've heard any politician that is willing to fight for us. And if you just look at the polls, there's a poll that came out, a couple of polls, where he's 50-50 among Hispanics. He's winning, I think it was an NBC poll.
yeah.
Don't quote me on that. One poll came out that he was getting over 20% of the black votes, right? So it
Yeah.
just tells you the current voters are looking at the candidates that we currently have, regardless of the challenges and the court cases that Trump has. They're seeing him today as the best option for them. And
Is
you
it
see
similar
the
to what you said? Herbert said something earlier about you look for the dirtiest, the cleanest of the dirtiest. Is that what he said?
Yeah.
it's
It's
like
dirty shirt.
yeah, the worst of the best of two evils.
Yes.
But I think it's a little bit deeper philosophically than that. I think people are saying in this 256 years experience,
Yes.
we've never seen the division that we have had in a long time. And obviously, what I've always said to folks, when you look at it from a chaotic perspective, go back to the 60s, what we had in the 60s, if you think about it, with the assassination of JFK, John, Martin Luther King, with riots in the streets, with riots in the city, with race riots, right? So a lot of people will say, well, this is the worst of time. But I remind folks to look at history. And I think that's where you see Trump from a national level is according to the polls is beating Biden, because I think there's a population in the US that is frustrated with politics. My son said something, and he keeps saying it. And sort of when you look at it historically, old men are making decisions to send young men to go fight against each other. If you look at what's going on in Ukraine and Russia, right?
Yes.
And my son said to me that most of these politicians, it doesn't matter to them because they're so old. Whatever decision they make, they be dead in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
True.
And if you just look at that and just pause and just think about that, there's a huge generational gap in our country. You don't have it in the UK because Reese is fairly young. I think he's in his 40s. But if you just look at the US, I think the average age of Congress is
Yes.
almost 80 years old.
Yes.
Mitch McConnell, I think he's 82. Biden will be 83 when he takes office if he wins. Trump will be 80 if he wins. If you look across the spectrum, the power dynamics is controlled by a group of folks that in 10 years from now, 5 years from now, they probably won't be with us. But they're making policies that will impact generations to come.
Yeah.
So the question becomes, what do you do? And I think that's where the dynamics are floating right now because there's no good option. And I think, Herbert, maybe this is what you were getting at is if I'm a young 21-year-old and I'm looking, I'm like, I have no connection to those folks, none whatsoever.
I
Right?
think you have one Hakeem Jeffers.
hmm He's
I
the
think
he's the Democratic
Minority.
he's the
yeah,
yeah, he's the minority leader in the Congress.
yeah. I think he's poised to be one of um one of the US great leaders.
Rising
If
star.
yeah, if he continues on that vein in that path, if he chooses to continue.
But I think he has to be willing to sit down and listen to the next side. And I think both sides, and I think this is what's wrong with politics, Herbert, is that no one is willing to talk to each other. And you have to realize that you're never going to get 100%. It's a negotiation, right? You might have a perspective, I have a perspective. And I would
Mhm.
say that, if you just look at the halls of Congress, if you look at, in the UK, and you look at history, it was my job to debate and have a conversation with Herbert around my point of view, and Herbert have a conversation with O'Neill about your point of view, and we figure
Yeah.
out where we get common ground. That has lost. That art has been lost, where it's either my way or the highway, or if I don't agree with you, I start making it personal. Right? We should be willing to sit across from each other and
And you
have
know what?
philosophical debate. And I think Jeffries could be great, but he has to take the part in a way where it's look, not because we disagree, it doesn't mean you're an evil person. It doesn't mean I should call you names, and vice versa. And I think that's the politics we're in today. We're in very petty political
Yeah.
climate where you and I are debating, and all of a sudden we take the debate off the table, and it becomes personal attacks.
Yeah. I think um when I saw what happened in the last election, I said to a friend of mine that the US could take a lesson from 1980s Jamaica.
Siaga
Yeah,
and Monday.
Siaga
yeah,
and Monley.
yeah. Because Jamaica had been down that road. They've passed it.
Hmm.
And I think the US could take some lessons from Jamaica in terms of political tribalism. Because what is happening now in the US is nothing short of disgrace.
And Herbert, I think you bring up a brilliant point. And if folks just look at Jamaica, and even you look at the system that was put in place, the garrison systems that were
Yeah,
put in place. If you go to Tivoli Garden, that's a strong JLP. You go down into Raytown, that's a strong, right?
Yeah.
And you could name the different things. And it was tribalism at its worst, because if you
Yes.
live in Tivoli Garden, or you live in, you name it, whatever the colors, you better not be caught with a green flag or orange flag.
O'Neill, remember, I'm not sure what year you went to school in the hills, yeah?
Hmm.
But a student going to Via Technical was not allowed to wear their tie on the street.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm.
So, so I think
That was how deep it was.
exactly, and you were scared. Even colors. I remember, I went to school, high school in '88 is when I started Edwin Allen. But I remember where there people would say, make sure you don't wear this color or that color,
Yes.
right? You were warned not to put on certain colors. And it was because, as you said, is the tribalism. And in this country, we're getting towards that super tribalistic politics where I've not seen it. And I think, social media um,
Polarized. Yeah.
polarize that whole aspect where you only see and hear from people who sort of you agree with. And I tell folks, make it a point to talk with folks that you don't agree with, because you know what? When you talk to folks, you realize you agree on 90% of the time.
Yes.
There's just 10% differential that you don't agree with, right? And focus on the things that we agree on, because I think that's the only way we're going to be able to solve problems. And we talk about this on the show, where there's a gap in leadership around the world, right? And the interesting thing, you mentioned Jamaica. If you just think about it, apartheid in South Africa, Jamaica was one of the first, not one of the first country in the world that sanctioned the South African government.
Yes.
Jamaica used to take, as small as we are,
Yes.
we used to
Stand.
take
It takes some strong
position,
stand, really.
strong stand. Mike, regardless of what you think about Michael Mandel, the one thing I like with Michael Mandel, when that guy was at the UN, he was one of the most articulate leader in the world
Of
on
course.
things that are going on in the world, right? He was able to talk about things in the Middle East, Africa, and he advocate policies, right? We don't have that sort of
Sharp.
leadership
Yes.
class
Yes.
anymore that understand the world, as we live in. And I think that's where we are seeing major gaps. I give credit, for example, to the Prime Minister of the UK to have a session around artificial intelligence and its safety. He showed true leadership in bringing together
Yes.
coalition, and he brought China in. And there's a lot of people that gave him a lot of grief for
For that,
inviting
yeah.
China,
Mm.
and he stuck to his ground and said China has to be at the table, right? So I think when you see it, you're seeing a reflection of the anxiety in our society. You're seeing it within our political
Yeah.
system in the U.S., where people are just tired.
Can
People
I
are
just, yeah.
exhausted.
Yeah, can I just come in right there, because I go back to the point where Herbert said that it is like the state is leading up to the 80s, and O'Neill, you have also said it as well, whereby the division is becoming a bit more evident now to a certain level, and you're right, people are definitely so frustrated when you see the people on the streets of the UK today wanting to have some sort of answers, some resolution to what is happening in the world. And when you see a preacher man, a Church of England guy, said he's going to the cenotaph because he understand what Remembrance Day is, but then he said he's also going to go to the pro-Palestinian march. But he said, I do not call it a pro-Palestinian march. He said, I call it a pro-peace march because of the killing which is happening. And right there and then, you're seeing a situation whereby people are all looking for some resolution and some leadership from the people that running them. But the the President Macron is over there also saying this need to stop. This need to really, of course, they're not calling for a ceasefire. I'm trying to say, but they're also saying that the killing of young people, the killing of babies, and older persons. So it is very clear that there's a clear need for communication, talking, knocking heads together. I mean, we just spoke recently about the SOE in Jamaica, whereby the government is saying that there are it would be helpful if the PNP would agree with them, and the PNP is actually saying this is not the way forward. So right there now, in dealing with crime, you're not seeing a common united front to say these guys are serious. So we're back again, O'Neill, to the whole point of a voidness of leadership in the world, and the people out there are looking in and say they are not. Listen, I don't. The average person in the world do not want this war. Why is the war going on then? Am I right? Am I right to say that the average person don't want this war?
I think this generation more than any
Yeah.
has grown tired of skirmishes, has grown tired of wars. Because before you know it, if there's a ceasefire now between Israel and Hamas,
Yes.
or Israel and Palestine,
Mm.
before the ink dry, there's another one starting,
Mm.
right? For what no one knows.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I would say this: all these things happen because of the absence of a healthy dialogue. Yes?
Yeah, and it sort of goes back to what I was hinting at, Herbert, where that book, The Guns of August, talk about
Mm.
if you just go back and obviously, 2020 is hindsight, and leaders were talking, you probably could have prevented World War I, and we could have probably prevented World War II, right?
Mm.
But again, it's about leadership and the decisions that we
Yes.
make. And it's the same thing here with the war between Palestine and between Hamas and
Israel.
Israel. And Israel has a right to defend itself because there's no country that will live, in fear when you have the citizenry and you have right across the border
Yeah.
that you have to, you know, defend and anxiety. So I think Israel has a right. The Palestinian people also, they has a right. They have a right to good governance. They
Yeah.
have a right, to be able to see their kids and say, you know what, I have a future for my kids.
Yes.
And I think that's where when I say we, the Western world has to figure out how do we finally solve that issue. And I think it was Elon Musk, and I'm a big fan of Elon Musk. I know a lot of people are not because I think he's one of the greatest engineering mind in the world. But he said something that was interesting on a podcast. He said, if you just think about it, October the 7th, what Hamas did in Israel, and now Israel justify a response to that atrocity. He's like, it's the best thing Hamas has done because now Hamas has galvanized the world,
Mm.
put in attention. And when he said that, I'm like, wow, that's an interesting perspective because, if you zoom back and say October, you name it,
6.
October the 6th, how many people were paying attention to things that are going on in that part of the world? Not many, right? So they have shone a light on that area. But again, it goes back to what we're talking about, where's the leadership,
Mm.
right? Where is the leadership, right? We're seeing a reset, and I don't know where it's going to go. We're seeing China, we've seen Russia, we've seen all this alignment. We see the BRIC countries, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China.
China.
We see these countries, and we see other countries that are in the Caribbean and Latin America, etc. And
Yes.
we see where there's more sort of economic development in these countries, and there's more alignment. And the question becomes, we're more fractured as a world than we've ever been before.
Mm.
And if you just look at it, people are not talking about it much. Go to France, right? There are strikes and things going on in France that you don't see on the television.
It's
Exactly.
every day.
Yeah.
every day.
every day.
I think the increase of the populist movement across the world, La Pen, that woman in Italy,
Maloney, I think her name is.
Berlusconi, Trump, Boris Johnson, they all speak what the people want to hear. They're
Mm.
all saying it, but they're not telling the people what they need to hear.
And I think Herbert, if you sort of go back, for example, to Brexit, and this is where the whole conversation is actually demonstrating why we need to talk and why people need to have conversation.
Yes.
Because I think if you just look at the guy up in Nottingham, right, he's rightly so saying that he's afraid of his losing his job, right? And people could say, well, he's just being protectionist. Well, it's a legitimate fear that that person is fearing that they can't take care of their family.
Yes.
Now, to your point, Herbert, is that we need to be able to have dialogues. We need to be able to talk and understand each other in a much more dimensional way than we do today.
True.
Yeah.
And to your point is that our politician, unfortunately, they figure out how to keep in power and keep power. So they'll tell the voters whatever the voters want to hear. But to your
Yeah.
point, not what the voters should hear. And so that when you look at history, you know, history shine the light on the leaders that are able to do the things in the best interest of the country and the best interest of their people. Right?
Mm.
If you look at it, I think the UK since 1721 have probably what 55, 56 prime ministers.
Mhm.
Right? We in the US we have what 46. Biden is a 46th president. Right?
No,
But
in this year alone, we've had three.
yeah, but what I'm saying is that when you just look at it, right, there are people who are shaped in the narrative. But I think one of the things that is different, in my opinion, Herbert, is this. In the past, it was the citizens who have the dialogue. We hold our elected official accountable.
Mm.
We don't have that anymore, right?
Yeah.
Politics is now a profession,
Yes.
right? And that's the issue we're having. It's not where Herbert decide, you know what, I'm going to spend 5 years and just be a politician for 5 years and then go off in the sunset. No,
Yeah.
politicians these days are 30 years in, 40 years in,
Yeah.
and you're like, wow, right? And that's why I go back to the Jamaican system that you talk about. I
Yeah.
was so happy when Bruce Golden decided to hand the mantle over.
No, because that was done out of shame.
Regardless, right? He could have still stick around,
Mm.
right?
But
Even if it was out of shame, my point is
he,
he could have
if
still
he
stick
stuck
around.
around, he would have had no relevance.
But what I'm
He'd have
saying,
just been there as an office holder.
that's my point, Herbert, is that he was self-aware enough to relinquish power, regardless of the reasons of the power. There's some people who are narcissistic that in that same situation would
True.
not have relinquished power. So
True.
that's all I'm saying is that just look at it that the fact that he was self-aware enough
True.
to say, you know what, I'm you're right. He realized that it wasn't in the interest of him or his party to
Mm-hmm.
stay in power. So you think that now, if we look at the both political party, should they say, look, let's give this to the next generation,
Mm.
right? Let's give this over to the next generation leader. Because my son, who is 21 years old, Biden is almost 60, 70 years, and right, so Trump, same thing. So I
Yeah.
think this is where leaders lead, where you say it's not about me, and you make decision, right? If you just go back to this country founding, where George Washington, he was the
Mm.
first president. He could have held on for multiple years.
True.
But what he did, he set a precedent, and he said, you know what, I'm done. I'm going back to Mount Vernon. And that is what we're lacking is that we have people who are narcissistic and they're not willing to let go of power. As they say, power corrupt. And we're
No,
living in a world where
Absolute power comes. Absolutely.
absolute power corrupt, where people now are saying
Yeah.
the only way I can make an impact a society if I get power.
Last week we're talking about this subject here called Awake Jamaica. I'm just using the principle, not talking about Jamaica directly, but awake. But the awakening was to the fact that people need to come to terms and realize that they actually should not stand back from changes and the power that they have. They have that power to change the Senate. They have that power to change the government. They have the power to change the MPs through the process of recall. But of course, these things will have to be in place, especially in Jamaica with the revamping of the constitution. In the UK, it is there whereby you can recall a person. But many people now is actually a lot of people, as you rightly say, they are disenfranchised with government. There's a
Mhm.
high level of apathy. And the worst thing for Jamaica, for argument's sake, when it comes on to election or the referendum to have a constitution or to remove the king as the head of state, you may have maybe 20% of the electorate come out to vote. If 31% came out to vote for a government, then something of that nature, boy, I'm in a business about that. Make them man to deal with it himself. You might have 20% turnout. So therefore, there need to be this level of inspirational or fire or something that people need to recognize that their vote counts. And that is why these sort of demonstrations, whether it is pro Palestine, pro peace, or whatever like that, is, I believe, a strong wake up call. I believe a strong wake up call to powers because when the prime minister actually calling the chief of police to say, "Listen, what's going on," or the home secretary is actually challenging the police, you recognize and say, "Hang on a second, these guys are going out against their brief because they are not the ones that know about the police. The police actually knows about what the police should be doing. So therefore, there seems to be this high level of disconnect whereby those in power, in leadership, who have been put there by the people, are becoming so narcissistic and believe that they have the ultimate power and they can hang on there for a long time. In some countries, I must say. Yeah.
but the the thing is, when you have, as I said earlier, you have people that are put into positions because of loyalty,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
These things will tend to happen. He cannot fire me because, as for example, Kevin McCarthy, when he was removed as Speaker of the House by one vote,
Mm.
because he made a promise to certain members of his caucus,
Mm.
right? Loyalty. I think in politics there should be nothing about loyalty. It should be based on, um, what do you bring to the table apart from the chair that you're sitting on.
Mm. But there need to be a level of loyalty at the same time, because the loyalty
Ye-
regarding the collective
Yes,
responsibility.
I understand
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I understand that. But it comes out to where people are voting along party lines to keep an effective member of parliament or prime minister or president in office
When
because of loyalty.
loyalty. When they are a bit defunct. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Mm.
This other way I think about it, there should be loyalty to develop policies that impact the people in a positive way. There
Yes.
should be loyalty in terms of what are the things that we need to put in place to ensure
Yeah.
there's social upward mobility. We're doing the things on behalf of the people. In my
Yes.
opinion, that's where the loyalty should lie. I think, unfortunately, what we have seen is the normal man, woman, slash, etc. Their impact on politics is super small. And the reason being is the donor class control the
Mm.
policies, right? And the normal man in the street, right, is there and they show up at election time, but that's it. How much of it you think a politician, you name it, is going to listen? Yeah, they'll come, they'll walk through your community or your communities, they'll have a conversation.
Yes.
When they go and they win, you don't see them for 4 years,
No, you
right?
don't.
You
Mm.
don't you don't see them talking about the things that they're doing on your behalf, right? We see it in Jamaica, and I have to give the government credit, but some people will say they're doing it because election is coming. The interior roads were deplorable in Jamaica. They're roads that I saw for the last 5 years that you couldn't even drive on these roads, but they're being fixed right now. And there are citizens in Jamaica that is saying, why did it take
So long.
5 years to fix these roads, right? And the normal man in the street is saying, again, it's politics,
Election will come.
election coming, right? So I think if you just look at the prime ministers and the presidents who we talk about to this day, people talk about Ronald Reagan, people talk about Margaret Thatcher,
Yeah.
people talk about Bill Clinton, people talk about Obama. If you go back, people still talk about Kennedy, right? You could sort of go back, people still talk about George Washington, right?
Yeah.
If you just look at it, people talk about Blair, right? You know, you don't hear much about Cameron at all, right?
Funnily, you're right about that. Yeah.
You're right.
Is
It,
yeah,
it,
Cameron. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, because you need leaders that are inspirational, that the people believe will have their best interests at heart and will do policy and make policy decisions that will uplift the people.
A high
And
level
that's
of a high level of conviction is what you're saying on it as well.
exactly, and be able to communicate. I always remind folks that if you sort of look at Ronald Reagan, for example, Ronald Reagan did not have, in most of his governance, a majority Senate or a majority Congress.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
It was the other party that actually controlled Congress and the Senate. But he was able to get things done because he was able to work, Chip
True.
O'Neill, and work and have dialogue, right? He was
Community.
willing to do that. Same thing with Margaret Thatcher in the UK. They were willing to hear from people who disagree with them. And they realize, and this is what good leader does, is that they realize I have to talk to people. I have to have a dialogue. I have to try to convince Herbert of my point of view, but I also have to listen to Herbert's point of view.
Yeah.
And together, I have to assume positive intent that Herbert wants everything that I want. We just have a different way to get to it.
Get
And if
yeah,
we sit
yeah.
down and have a conversation, we'll realize that, guess what? We really are figuring out the best way to provide for our citizens. And we all have positive intent. And I think if you take that as the baseline, that is when magic happens, where I respect Herbert as a person and respect that he has positive outcomes. And we just have philosophical differences, which we could overcome. And if you don't have that, then that's where so you will have issues. And when you don't have the tone from the top, it's just like any leader, right? I always say I'm always a leader in training. But when you don't have the tone from the top being set,
Mm.
then everything becomes a wastebasket.
Yeah.
And that's the issue we're trying. That's the challenges that I believe that we're having.
It is very true what you're saying about communication and getting the message across, no matter what. I saw in Jamaica recently whereby GCT was removed from horse races or for horses, and I watched it and I listened. I listened to the opposition senator saying, what's this going on? I mean, you should be taking it off something else. This is for rich people. And then I heard another side again, whereby they're saying that by such a move, it stimulates in cash injection by default into that industry. And then the person was breaking it down as to the amount of actually jobs that it does provide at the same time. And right there again, it strikes such a strong chord that it wasn't communicated to the people the full rationale of why this was done. Whether you like it or not, it wasn't communicated down because everyone jumped off on a particular tail end to say this is wicked and this is evil. And I'm not saying my views or anything, but the fact that there's a plus and there's a minus to the whole thing. But the communication and and we go back to the whole issue regarding the SOE. PNP is not for it, government is for it, and it clears. It simply says something right there. Hang on a second. What is this in aid of? Better crime, better crime fighting measures for the country. Then why can't the leaders come together and talk about it? Why?
Because
Mm,
they don't know what to talk about. How about that?
mm,
Because you're you're looking to secure your next term
yes,
in the next parliament,
yes.
right?
You don't want the success of one person. Okay, go on. Yeah, go on. Yeah,
Do you think do you
yeah.
think I am going to try to upset my apple cart by telling you um how the struggles that we're facing in crime fighting or in controlling taxes or something like that?
On my
Those
watch.
cards are kept close to my chest.
Yes, yes.
It also, I
That's
think,
unfortunate. That's unfortunate, isn't it, Anil?
I think it's unfortunate, and I think Herbert is getting it's politics at its
Yeah.
most height because um, if anyone understand economics 101, you'd realize that that industry is such a critical part of the Jamaican economy. You don't have to have a PhD in economics to realize that. So then you ask yourself, what is it about? It boils down to politics, right? Is what the narrative that I want to create is that the current ruling government is doing things from a policy perspective to enrich the rich people because it sort of go back to what we're saying. We're making it tribal, right? Where I don't have a good story to tell about what I would do differently. So what I'll do, I'll plant these seeds out there,
Yes.
and then some people will believe it. So even if Silburn, you mentioned there's someone that comes and explain that, it doesn't matter. That seed has already been planted.
Mm,
So subsequent now, any other little things that fuel this narrative, you could just add on to it. Where there's a population, a sentiment in Jamaica that will say yes, they are doing things to enrich their friends, which it's further from the truth if you just dig into the details of
yes.
sort of the betting system, the horse racing system in Jamaica, and realize it provides billions of dollars to the government in revenue that then is used for XYZ. So I think it just boils down to politics. And it goes back to sort of the storyline here where before it was tell the story to the people of what are your solutions. I don't even know if they have it anymore, but back in Jamaica, you have the manifestos where the PMP
Yeah.
will bring these big books, the JLP, and they lay out their policy positions. We don't have people laying that out anymore. What we're seeing a lot of times across the board is what we call misinformation and disinformation,
Yes.
right? Because we know there's a segment of the population will believe it because they're saying, well, if Herbert says it, it must be right.
Because Jamaicans are too emotionally attached to politics.
Yes,
Vote for people, they vote for politicians and not for policies.
correct.
Mm,
Um, and I think that's unfortunate. And again, it's where what is it in the best interest of the Jamaican people at the end of the day, right? And what is it in the best interest of the American people? And I think that's where we move away from. It's not about the people anymore. It's about holding on to power.
Yeah.
And I think I imagine a future where our politicians are thinking about our people first and figuring out how do we improve the lives of our citizens. Jamaica has what, almost 3 million people, right? Obviously, there has been progress, and if anybody says there's no progress in Jamaica, then you must be living under a rock, because if you just compare it to the 80s to the 90s, there's progress, but there's a
Of
lot of
course.
work that needs to be done. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and we have to figure out how to help. And I think the diaspora has a place to play
Yes.
in that aspect of it. What I would like to see is greater access to sort of the government folks there, so you could help. And I'm a big critic of diaspora, especially some of the Jamaican organizations that have created, because my position has always been, a lot of these people, they're in there for something for themselves and not looking out for their country. And I've seen it time and time again, and people will disagree with me, but I've seen enough evidence to understand that's the issue. But I think the end of it, Silver and Herbert, is it boils down to the lack of leadership, the lack of self-awareness,
Yes.
and the notion that the only way you can move forward is if I have the driver steering wheel.
Yeah.
And if Herbert is the driver, I'm going to do everything to make sure he doesn't succeed.
Correct.
What we don't realize is that if Herbert succeeds, don't matter what color, what party, if you succeed, it means the Jamaican people succeed, it means the American people succeed. And I think if we could cultivate leaders that are thinking like that, we'll see a better world.
And you're so very right. And as Michelle just said a while ago, Jamaican people are too attached to party, emotionally attached to party, and
Correct.
and also we can say as well that the politicians are also attached to their parties. They're so deeply attached to their green or their orange. And I've always said I long for the day when there can be a political meeting in Jamaica where none of the leaders have on colors, in a sense, and just generic to say that I'm here. Because I always say this all the while: how can a person run in another area which is totally green? Let's say Tivoli, for argument's sake. You know, can a person with an orange walk through Tivoli, who is supposed to be? You can't walk through
Maybe.
Tivoli.
I
But what?
mean,
I
you
don't
know
know
what?
about now.
But
I
what?
don't know about now, but in the past, I don't know about now when Herbert met, but I know in the past you would not want to wear orange through to the lagoon.
Yeah.
I think the narrative has changed somewhat. I remember when I was stationed in Kingston in the 90s.
Mm.
I witnessed two elections when I was stationed in Kingston, and when you had political meetings, it was like a party where JLP and PNP were jumping up together,
Yes.
having fun.
Was that in a staunch era? In a
Yeah,
staunch.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's how it should be, right?
yeah.
Because in any community, it's not a unipolar where you have one political party represented. You will have people who subscribe to the other political party, and we have to respect that. And this is where you have to respect the fact that regardless of what, that people choose a political party to support, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we're gonna get people in terms of the philosophy, and how we you know create mobility for our people. And I'm happy to see that in Jamaica that can't be the case, because I remember back in the day, like in the 80s,
No,
you
in
would
the
never,
80s, no,
you'd
no.
never walk through
A zone.
a zone where wearing the wrong color. You're right. It's just like the Crips and the Bloods here. You make sure you don't go into a community where either and wear the wrong colors, right? So I think overall, I think you're seeing it's unfortunate. It's a deficit in leadership, and then you ask yourself, how is that not apparent to a lot of people? And to Michelle's point, is the sort of staunch affiliation to one party, to a
Yeah.
system, right? And I don't know how, but you know what? I do have a lot of optimism that we have a set of young people that will change the narrative. I believe that my son and the way he and his friends are talking,
Mm.
and that's what we have to hope for. If you look at Africa, Africa has one of the youngest generation, right?
Yeah.
And if you think of what they're doing, and I think you're going to see a drastic change. I think when you look 5 years out, I hope we have a different sort of society, and our political tribalism is not as apparent as it is. And I think how we're going to get there is because our young people, they're going to get us there, because I think they're tired
Yes.
of people making decisions on their behalf that will impact them for a generation, and they don't have a hand in it. And I think you're seeing it.
Yes.
You're seeing the narrative. You're seeing people making decisions, and I hope we'll continue to encourage
Yeah.
our young people to get involved, because I think that's the only way we're going to see, sort of, a way forward.
Yeah, that is so correct. And on that note, sorry, Herbert, you wanted to say something quickly.
No, 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 no.
Yeah, yeah. And on that note, I believe that's a good way to wrap up on this whole aspect of leadership. We are back again on that zone there regarding effective leadership in this world at this time that we need to see. And it's so important that the politicians, they all start to talk. And Anil, and Herbert, all those leaders who are sort of holding a lot of things, they're actually not going to be stepping down, but they're going to be dying off, unfortunately.
And that's exactly what my son is.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to be dying off. I saw one leader in Jamaica. I saw them holding him up, walking, and I'm saying,
To Alisha.
well, it wasn't Ardishaw, it was another one. But, but I was just saying, come on, guy, spend some time with your grandchildren, man. Step back and let the whole thing play out.
But
Because-
then again, Silver, you have to realize that after so many years in politics, the only friends that they know is those in parliament.
Mm, mm,
And
Yeah.
if they remove themselves from parliament,
yeah,
the next thing is a state funeral because they're dead.
yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining. And a last note I wanted to, IC3 Black Preparation, welcome. Michelle had mentioned a point earlier, and she mentioned that the processed food is killing off person. I wanted to bring that up. The food intake is killing us. Everything is processed now. It's being morphed to processed food. And then there's a point which I saw people were talking about. Government was saying it's good, and it's a good thing that Pepsi Cola is injecting a lot. But then I saw another thread of conversation. You're killing off the people with the sugar, And he said, despite the recent expansion of its production facilities, Pepsi Cola Jamaica says plan could be in the pipeline for even more growth. But I know my diabetes champion is actually saying that this is not good for Jamaica in the sense of the sugar. And as a person who is pre-diabetic, well, I don't think I'm pre-diabetic anymore.
Oh,
but
yeah, I wouldn't. My perspective on that, Super, regardless of Pepsi, Jamaica have had colas for years, right?
Yeah.
You go into Jamaica, there's a lot of, sugary drinks, right?
Yeah.
So, to me, I leave it up to people in terms of their personal choice.
Yes.
And you have to understand that, look, if you drink soda, there's impact. And you have to make a decision, right? I don't drink soda. The last time I probably drink a soda was probably 20 years ago. And I make it a point not to drink soda. So you have personal decisions that you can make. I'll give you an example. Everybody talk about impact of climate change. And I always say, what is it that you're doing personally to help? And I'll tell you, like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I decided only to use soap, that soap bar that we all used to. So I used to
Castile.
use,
Castile carbonate. So,
well, they don't have carbolic here. Um,
Blue
look,
bomber.
Bummer, there you go, the blue bummer. But for me, if you just think about it, is that when you use shower gel, you're using two, three, four, five, six, you know, a month.
yes.
So if you just multiply that, the amount of plastic you save. So now I don't use, the only thing I use is soap. I only use organic soap, and I made that decision 2 years ago. So now I'm doing my part. So imagine if the people in whatever you name it say, "I'm not drinking soda." Look,
Yes.
look at what happened with the beer company when people said, "Look, we're going to boycott that beer for whatever reason," right? But look at the revenue shrinkage. So if the Jamaican people make the decision, or whomever, not just Jamaica, but here, to say, "Look, the processing food is killing off our people with higher diabetes, with higher this, higher that." There's some decisions that we have to make to say, you know what, let me stop drinking this, let me stop
Yes.
eating that. And
Yeah,
then
but funny, we can always talk about processed food, this and that, right? We now live in an era where every household has a stove. How many people use their stove to cook food?
that's where I was gonna go, right? It's like you're absolutely right, Herbert, is that so for example, go to Jamaica on a Friday night and go look at the
Kentucky.
drive-through for KFC,
Yeah, Burger
Popeyes,
King. Yep,
Burger King.
yep,
The
Yes.
line
yep,
long,
yep,
Yeah.
like traffic block up.
yep.
Traffic block for KFC.
Traffic KFC, Burger King, Popeyes. There's a Popeyes now on Hope Road where what's that place name? Hope, not Hope Gardens. Devon House.
Devon
Right.
House.
Yeah.
While I was there, I'm asking the driver, yo, why so much traffic? Me you him said Popeyes. I said, what do you mean Popeyes?
Uh,
When I drive down Herbert Silver, the line, a
Long.
car
Hold
line
on.
But,
through the
Like
drive.
Jamaica ever say long, 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 long.
You talking about long, long? I'm talking about causing traffic. And he said, yes, every Friday. And he said to me, go look at Burger King. Same thing. And Herbert, you're making a point because people don't want to cook.
people don't want, no, it's not that they don't want to cook. These young people nowadays, they do not share a relationship with the kitchen.
A relationship with the kitchen, yeah.
No. Cook. Yeah? They can't make porridge.
You must cook. But the song say, cook, you must cook. Go
That's
on.
right.
If you live in Narbrook, gal can't cook. I always say that it's like gal can't cook, you must live in Narbrook.
Yeah,
Must
yeah,
cook.
Mr. Lex, right? But until they start take their health into their own hands, the
Yes.
doctors won't be able to help them.
Mm.
It,
Yes.
it's unfortunate, but I think you have, like, my son don't drink soda, so I'm hoping that was something I impacted on him. So, but it's personal. You know, we
Yeah.
have to sort of take back, and Jamaica is one of those places where we have the land. We could make the organic food, and
Mm.
again, there are people who are making a ton of money off the system, and you create a system where you make it easy. Because I think where you look at it is, if you have a household or a parent with 4 kids, 2 kids, 1 kid, whatever, you work hard, then you say, you know what, I can't go stand and cook. And I
Yeah.
think that's what you're finding out, Herbert. So it's easier for me to go on Uber Eats
Mm.
and say, you know what, let me order some food for the kids, and when it comes, let me order pizza.
Yeah, I would
Right.
rather eat a piece of jerk chicken than
Mm.
some fast food.
Exactly. But
Guys,
now
yeah.
that's where the opportunity lies, where, how do you provide that nutritious food so people could easily order it? And I think that's how we could try to figure out how to change. So you don't only have Popeyes, you have the good version of Popeyes. You don't only have Pepsi, you have the good version of, right. So I think there are things that one could start look at and give people choices.
Yeah, yeah. Guys, listen, I want to thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you so much for joining tonight. Talking sip, good topics, good discussion, leaders, leaders, leaders. But we're getting there. Remember to share and like the show, and tune in next week Saturday night. I might have Matunda and myself tomorrow discussing some one-to-one regarding Jamaica and the Constitution. Hopefully, we'll see how that happens.
At what time?
We're not sure. Maybe about 9 o'clock or so. I'm supposed to hear from him. We have been
Jamaica
discussing.
has a constitution. I didn't realize that.
Huh?
Jamaica has a constitution.
Yeah.
Herbert, you really responded? Did you really respond to O'Neill?
I mean,
Did
there
you really
may
respond to O'Neill?
no. There may not be a constitution up in down in Ocho up in Eden Island here and there, but yeah, there's
You're
one.
saying, I guess you're saying based on the conversation O'Neill and I have many times, you're assuming that both of us don't know. We don't talk about Constitution, isn't it?
No,
O'Neill asked the question.
actually, I'm being facetious, but I'm also aware. Just ask Matunda tomorrow. Just
Yeah.
go any place in Jamaica, and you know it's Herbert because I see you smiling. And just ask someone, what's the Jamaica Constitution said? They say what?
And this is on the basis, O'Neill, on your recent trip in Jamaica. Nobody had talked about that. That's
No,
far from everybody else's mind.
Like Herbert, I was in Jamaica, and when you ask, I'm at the bar sitting, and you ask people, what you talk about? I don't know nothing about that. You ask the bartender, and he said, what you do about the king? He said, what you talk about? I said, you don't know they having this whole thing to remove the king. He said, I said, yeah, I said, I true that. I'm sorry.
But let me tell you something. Jamaicans are either not interested in it, or they're totally ignorant.
It's not impacted their life, so they don't.
I think they're more focused on some felt need issues
Yeah.
for them, that they're seeing that as periphery that don't make sense, and for them the education and the joining up of the process is not there. What removing the king, how does it help me with feeding my children? How does it help with my job? That is a link that, how does it help with the crime? That's what they're looking at. But while those who have their felt interest in at heart to change it, to make them in power for forever, they will actually go ahead and make sure it's done. So that's why the wake up thing with Stephanie Marley and the Rita Marley Foundation is trying to help, and we're trying to educate people. But as I said before, if 20% of the electorate come out and vote and say they want to keep the king,
So here's the thing. I believe, and this is just my belief. I don't think they care about messaging in the way we're talking about.
it is not.
Because if you really want the message to get out, Jamaica has more churches than any place in the world per square mile, right? Every person go church, even the bad man go church.
Yes.
Right. If you look at schools, right? Jamaica have a ton of schools, right? So if you really want to get out the message, you have channels. You could go to the pastors, you could preach it, right? But it's up to you if you want to get it out, right? You could help, the entertainers could help you.
But I was going to say the social media influencers, they have a
exactly. You could get Ninja Man. Let Ninja Man out. Ninja Man.
In Nigeria, yes.
Silver.
Yes.
The social media influencers,
In Jamaica.
yeah,
Yeah.
their knowledge base is limited, minute. They can only tell you what's happening in the dancehall circles or any gossip you want to know about.
Or they regurgitate the same thing where everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To
But
get
for them to come out and say something of that magnitude, they're not wired that way. They're not intellectually matured to deliver such message or messages.
the way I say the same thing. I don't think they have an interest to deeply understand
Yes,
No,
the
they don't.
context of
but
what
does
this
it? But,
means and be able to
mm,
dive into so they could have a conversation that they could boil it down and put it on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook and put it in a 2 minute window because that's
No,
sort of the focus, right? How you get that message in 2 minutes. And I think that's where, to your point, is is the lack of, it doesn't impact me, so I don't really care.
no,
so does it say a lot then about the people of Jamaica? Because these social media influencers have a lot of following. The people that follow them. Are you trying to say that it speaks as to the amount of people in Jamaica who are not interested?
Yeah,
Or
it does.
yes,
It's just like when there's, I forgot the name of the person that had put out her album, and the album only sold like a couple of hundred copies. And someone said, well, if you have what 6 or 7 million followers and you can't convert that, something must be wrong, right?
mm,
And sort of the same thing is that there are doing things that are much more different and they don't care about this piece. And there's not a lot of requests from the government to say, hey, how do we enhance social media? I have to give the credit to the Biden administration. They do employ social media
yes, yes.
influencer to put messages out. And you ask yourself, I wonder why the government PR apparatus is not doing that. And to your point, Herbert, is picking the one or two that could go articulate this.
Mm,
But some people just don't want to step into it. Some people
yes,
just don't want to step into the whole political arena because this, Herbert Silver, the
yes,
political arena is a blood sport.
yes.
Some people just don't want to step in that arena.
Well, I'm gonna step in one arena now, my bed, and it's Saturday night. O'Neill, you're just starting your evening. Um,
You know what I'm
Herbert,
saying? Man, a real bad man.
hold on,
you
hold on,
see,
hold on, hold on, hold on. Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Man, a real bad man.
Did you see the video with I got, with the video with what's his name?
It's a ninja man. Man, a
Come,
real
come on,
bad man.
come on. Is that
Yeah,
Ninja Man, man?
20, he's a 23 picnic, 22 baby man. A
This one is
real bad
with Chris Eubank. Chris Eubank when he said, "I'm a
yeah,
real bad man," and then he
No,
said, "Listen,
that one, what I love about it is his switch between the part one. He's like, "Oh man, my mother tongue
my
is
mother
coming
tongue
out."
keep jumping out, keep jumping out." What is it? What I was saying is that it's going to be detrimental and it's going to be parliamentary.
I thought that was humorous the way he was. He's like, oh, my mother tongue. He's like, oh, my mother tongue keep coming out again.
And by the way, Michelle, just want to say this. I don't think there's a good version of Pepsi. There's-
Oh, Pepsi
no,
Cola.
Michelle,
Oh,
you're wrong
Pepsi Cola.
because Michelle, you're wrong because the people who enjoy the real nephew will tell you yes, the Pepsi is good for the real nephew.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. Some Colo Colo. Michelle, you get some Colo Colo.
Yeah. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. May I have to play this? May I have to play this guy? May I have to
A real bad man. Sigurd, I thought he was going to say something else, tell him to, what is SUKMDA? I thought he was going to say
I don't know. I don't know. How can I find it? It's on
Hold
my
on.
WhatsApp here. Hold on. I've got to, there it is. There it is. I'm gonna get it there. There it is. The real bad man. I need to do something here. You know, look a moment here. Can you see me? Can you see me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna play it to the humor of everybody. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Think I got it. Where is it? Where am I there? Where am I
in
there?
there, man.
He's
I'm
like,
there.
you just have
Okay,
to
there.
hit.
Okay, ready, ready, ready.
You better watch out, dreadlocks. You better watch out because we have come for you. Inundate Conovan, inundate social media with
Hold on. Let me see. I think I can play it. Hold on.
Harry,
Hold hold on. Let me stop mine. Let me stop mine. Let me stop mine there. Anil,
You ready?
yeah, let's go for yours. Yeah.
Okay.
Watch out, dreadlocks. You better watch out because we are come for you. Inundate Conoban, inundate his social media with the news that he's got to get his license. Whoever is stopping him from going and getting his license is misleading him. And how can he not see this? So back me up, help him out. And as for calling him Harry, don't do that. This is WBO Global Dreadlocks, global champion. Well, I'm a champion. And if you think that was something, wait till you see him actually not having to lose 20 pounds. When he only has to lose maybe 10 pounds or 8 pounds, you better watch out, dreadlocks. You better watch out. Look how we are come for you. Oh, sorry. It's my mother's tongue again. Because we're not playing. We're real and we are a terror. And the procedure will be parliamentary for us, all right?
that was someone should put a reel and put some reggae music to that. That would be,
Hold on. I got another. I saw another one on TikTok as well. Another version of it. Like it's just switching between the pattern and him say it's gonna be detrimental. It's gonna be power because no, it's gonna be terror because what I'm saying. It's gonna be parliamentary. That's the latest one. It's gonna be parliamentary. Michelle, Michelle, I'll send it to you. Yeah? I'll send it to you as well. Definitely, guys. Listen, we're gone. We're gone.
all right.
All right. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. O'Neill, take care of yourself. Brethren.
Neil, take care.
All right. Cheers. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight. It was a good discussion. See you around next week, Saturday night. Michelle, I'll send you. Thank you, Mr. IC3, Sandra, and persons on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you so much for having a good evening. And as usual, I'll try as much as possible to come with very substantive and sound discussions as well. As a matter of fact, it'd be great if you can text me or send me what are some of the topics that you think we should discuss on Talk and Sip. And as usual, always have a drink. I'm just finishing off with water. I started with coffee and finish off with water. No wine or anything tonight. Have a blessed night and God bless you, and see you around next week. And hopefully tomorrow night, I should be having Matundo McCullough. We're going to see if we can have a discussion or time set already, talking about the political dimension, the world constitution reform, and Matundo McCullough was the former public defender. We have had some discussions in regards to the Jamaica quest to become a republic and looking at the constitution, and we want to do a sort of catch up on that. All right, so all being west tomorrow night, and I'll let you know as well. Peace out. Bye bye.
Let's go.